How to heal from a trauma bond. Have you ever been unable to escape a toxic cycle of manipulation and toxicity? Come along as we explore the compelling psychological mechanisms that keep victims of abuse attached to their abusers as we dive into the fascinating world of trauma bonds. Have you ever wondered why, even when you know a relationship is toxic, you can't seem to get out of it? Ever question why you maintain your sense of attachment to someone who has caused you such pain? In this enlightening video, we reveal the hidden dynamics of trauma attachments and offer doable tactics for escaping and taking back your independence. Take the first step towards healing and liberty by tuning in now and don't miss out on discovering the mysteries hidden behind these intricate links. Recognize the signs. The vital first step in escaping a trauma bond's hold is identifying its telltale symptoms. These ties frequently form in violent or domineering relationships in which one person exercises authority over the other. It is possible for victims of abuse to develop a strong emotional bond with their abuser, even in the face of mistreatment or injury. A sense of devotion or allegiance to the abuser, even in the face of abuse, and emotions of guilt or shame for wishing to end the relationship are common indicators of trauma connection. People may also be confused and ambivalent about how they feel about the abuser, vacillating between fear and affection. Furthermore, practices of control, coercion, and manipulation define trauma relationships. Abusers may employ strategies like seclusion, manipulation, and gaslighting in order to keep control over their victims and erode their feeling of value. In addition to feeling reliant on their abuser for validation and acceptance, victims may start to question their own senses of reality. Furthermore, trauma bonds frequently entail cycles of abuse interspersed with times of regret and reconciliation, making it more difficult for the victim to identify and escape the abusive dynamic. In addition, trauma connections can have a significant negative emotional and psychological influence on a person's self-worth, mental health, and general well-being. Trauma bond victims may struggle to build healthy connections and trust people, as well as exhibit signs of anxiety, sadness, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Furthermore, because victims of trauma bonds often feel imprisoned in a cycle of abuse and manipulation, they may lose their sense of agency and autonomy. It is crucial for people to recognize these indicators in order to start the healing process and free themselves from the hold of a trauma bond. Seek support. Seeking support is essential to recovering from a trauma bond because it gives people the understanding, approval, and direction they need to go through their recovery process. Contacting dependable family members, friends, or support groups that can provide emotional support and a listening ear is one way to get help. People can feel more connected and united when they share their stories with others who have faced comparable difficulties, which makes them feel less alone in their hardships. Furthermore, individuals can receive expert help and resources to manage the complex emotional and psychological repercussions of trauma bonds from therapists, counselors, or trauma specialists. Additionally, getting help gives people a new perspective on their experiences and validation for their emotions and experiences. People who are stuck in trauma bonds may find it difficult to see the negative aspects of their relationships or feel guilty or ashamed of their past experiences. By asking for help, people can learn more about the dynamics of their relationships, spot abusive and manipulative behaviors, and have their experiences validated as real and deserving of consideration and assistance. This affirmation can be empowering and reassuring, giving people more faith in their capacity to escape the clutches of a trauma bond and retake their life. Additionally, getting support gives people the tools and practical help they need to successfully navigate their healing process. Therapists and counselors can assist individuals in processing their experiences, regulating their emotions, and developing coping mechanisms for handling triggers and flashbacks by providing evidence-based interventions like dialectical behavior therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, or trauma-focused therapy. Online forums and support groups can also give people a feeling of connection and community, as well as important tools and knowledge on legal rights, safety planning, and self-care. People can build a strong support network that fits their specific requirements and enables them to recover and thrive after trauma by asking for help from a range of sources. Establish boundaries. Setting limits is essential to escaping the hold of a trauma bond and recovering one's independence and dignity. Establishing boundaries helps people protect their physical and mental health by defining what constitutes appropriate behavior and social interactions. Setting firm limitations on the abuser's actions, such as saying that you won't put up with manipulation, control, or verbal or physical abuse, is one way to set boundaries. People are able to clearly and forcefully communicate their wants and expectations by setting and maintaining limits. Setting boundaries also entails putting one's own needs and well-being ahead of the abuser's demands. This could entail establishing limits on one's own time, space, and resources in addition to claiming one's own independence and autonomy in interpersonal interactions and decision-making. People can build a sense of security and empowerment inside themselves by putting self-care and self-respect first, which lessens their susceptibility to coercion and manipulation by the abuser. In addition, setting boundaries necessitates that people enforce penalties for crossing them and hold the abuser responsible for their actions. This could entail putting penalties in place, such as breaking up with the abuser, getting legal counsel, or limiting communication with them. People who set and maintain firm boundaries make it very evident that their health and dignity are non-negotiable, which gives them the strength to take charge of their life and cease the cycle of abuse and manipulation. Regaining agency and self-respect, as well as recovering from a trauma bond, needs setting limits. People can establish a sense of safety, empowerment, and autonomy within themselves by imposing penalties for boundary violations, emphasizing self-care and well-being, and clearly defining boundaries on the abuser's conduct. Through this approach, people can reclaim their life and escape the hold of a trauma bond, opening the door to self-empowerment, growth, and healing. Practice self-care. A key component of recovering from a trauma bond is engaging in self-care, which gives people the tools and resources they need to support and maintain their mental, emotional, and physical health. Setting aside time and energy for pursuits that encourage rest, renewal, and self-compassion is known as self-care. This could be taking part in joyful and fulfilling pursuits like hobbies, working out, or going outside. People can refuel their energy reserves and develop resilience in the face of hardship by making time for self-care. Furthermore, nurturing self-acceptance and self-compassion, as well as caring to one's emotional needs, are all part of practicing self-care. Engaging in activities that facilitate emotional healing and processing, such as journaling, therapy, or support groups, as well as practicing mindfulness and self-reflection to tune into one's thoughts and emotions, may be part of this. People can become more emotionally resilient and self-aware and be better equipped to deal with the difficulties of recovering from a trauma bond by recognizing and accepting their feelings. In addition, self-care entails establishing boundaries and placing one's own needs and well-being first. Saying no to obligations or activities that deplete energy or create stress, as well as standing up for oneself and getting help when required, may all be part of this. By setting boundaries and making self-care a priority, people empower themselves to break free from the cycle of abuse and manipulation and reclaim their life by sending a strong message to both themselves and others that their well-being is non-negotiable. Self-care is crucial to recovering from a trauma bond because it gives people the tools and resilience they need to successfully manage their recovery process. Individuals can refuel their energy stores, develop self-compassion and self-awareness, and take charge of their life by making physical, emotional, and mental well-being a priority. People can escape the hold of a trauma bond and design a life characterized by fortitude, resiliency, and self-determination by engaging in self-care practice. Focus on healing. By concentrating on healing, people can go on a life-changing, courageous, and resilient journey of self-discovery and empowerment that frees them from the bonds of trauma. Recognizing prior experiences, managing feelings, and developing self-awareness and self-compassion are all necessary steps in the healing process from a trauma bond. The first step in this path is to make a commitment to self-care and self-compassion, giving practices and activities that support mental, emotional, and physical well-being priority. People can restore their energy reserves and develop resilience in the face of adversity by setting aside time for rest, renewal, and introspection. Furthermore, addressing unresolved feelings and concerns from the past is a crucial part of recovery because it helps people understand their experiences and create coping mechanisms for handling triggers and flashbacks. This can entail reaching out to counselors, therapists, or support groups who can offer direction and tools for navigating the difficulties of trauma recovery. In addition, people can achieve closure on unresolved situations and let go of pent-up emotions by partaking in activities that encourage emotional expression and processing, such as journaling, artistic expression, or mindfulness exercises. In addition, concentrating on healing necessitates that people develop self-acceptance and self-compassion, understanding that healing is a gradual and non-linear process. It entails recognizing little accomplishments along the road and treating advancements and failures with compassion and empathy. Through patient, courageous, and self-compassionate acceptance of the healing process, people can liberate themselves from the bonds of trauma and design a life characterized by fortitude, resiliency, and genuineness. By engaging in self-care, self-reflection, and self-compassion practices, people can recover their agency and power in their lives and go on a life-changing healing path. Ready to embark on a journey of healing and empowerment? Subscribe now to join our community and unlock exclusive content on breaking free from trauma bonds, cultivating resilience, and reclaiming your power.